Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today I'm excited to introduce you to a new writer for young children. It's Leslie Conzatti, calling from Skype from Washington State, and it's Princess of Undersea, a new take on The Little Mermaid. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Why did you decide to do a remake? I love the twist you put in too. It's not as soft and sweet as Disney, but it is definitely an adventure. And I don't think it's as bad as the 1836 version either. Somewhere in between.
Yeah, I have always been fascinated with like mermaids and mermaid lore. And I originally wrote it actually as a fan fiction for the fantasy themed fairy tale themed show Once Upon a Time, and because I didn't like the way that they told the Little Mermaid story, and so I was like, well, here's how they would have told it earlier on if it had happened earlier on in the show, kind of a thing. So I was going through the story and just thinking of all the different versions that I have read, because I'm a big fairy tale junkie.
Mm-hmm.
So like the retelling, like anything to do with any kind of fairy tales, I'm like probably going to be interested. So I had a lot of, I knew a lot of what most authors would do with the story. So I kind of wanted to see if I could, because this is my first retelling that I'd ever done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I just wanted to see if I could make changes that were different than the ones that people would normally do, kind of a thing. So,
do you think you've changed the moral of the story in any way?
probably, because I know, like, you know, the 1800s version was like all about, like, you know, she was so virtuous even though she couldn't speak and everything, and like, so that was like her virtue was rewarded even though it was kind of a downer of an ending. And then like the Disney version, it was like, follow your true love, follow your heart, the kind of the overall message of most Disney films.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as pertains to fairy tales and stuff. But kind of, I think what I wanted to bring out was like, kind of the message that I wanted is like, who are you paying attention to? Because, like, you know, both my main characters, Elaine and Nathan, they were both kind of felt very largely ignored by their fathers, and the adult figure, the mentor in their life, they both had mentors in their lives and giving profoundly different messages in regards to like their relationship with their father, mm-hmm. kind of a thing. And so just like, who are we listening? Who are we allowing to influence our lives, and how, and what are they bringing out in us, kind of a thing.
That's what I found. I thought you did a good job with that. You moved more away from the redemption part of it to exploring the relationships around you and understanding people's limitations, but waking up to what others are really telling you, looking beyond the surface.
Yeah.
That was really good. So how many stories have you written?
I have done, well, so I've been like writing stories for like years and years and years, just for the fun of it, just because. But like, as far as retellings, I've done I've done Cinderella with dragons. I've done a retelling of Jack and the Beanstalk with dragons.
Are they all published?
The Jack and the Beanstalk retelling is called Arthur and the Egg, and that short story was included in the anthology Dreamtime Dragons that I did with a group of fantasy authors and stuff. And so that one was really fun. And then, but the Cinderella retelling is only on my blog so far. I had originally started writing it, thinking that I was going to submit it to a fantasy anthology a couple years back. But I missed the deadline and the story was too long, but I didn't want to give it up. So I posted it on my blog. So there's that one. And then I've done, I did a version of Beauty and the Beast where like the damsel character was the selfish, vain, shallow one. And the Beast actually learned his lesson, but like now how are they going to resolve this thing if she doesn't want anything to do with him, kind of a thing.
Right.
So, yeah. And then I've done Little Red Riding Hood, where she is a wolf shifter who protects this mountain village. And there's like Red Riding Hood references all over the place and stuff.
So the Red Riding Hood story, she's there to protect the village, and
yes, she's there to protect the village, and she kind of at one point she does so there's I actually have two different versions of that. One version I submitted for the anthology Dreamtime Damsels and Fatal Femmes, and but I had to cut it short because it was to fit within the word count limit.
Mm-hmm.
So then I put the full version on my blog. So in the one version, you just kind of see her and the way that she interacts with her village and the way that she like protects them all and stuff. But then in the longer version, you've got a story arc where she actually gets trapped in the wolf form, like she can't shift back into a human.
Oh wow.
And then she gets taken off of the mountain by a traveler because she's wounded. So he just sees this wounded wolf and, you know, he wants to, you know, take care of it and, you know, help it and stuff. And so then she's got to, yeah, it was really, really fun to write.
I'll bet. So how do you decide which of the blog stories you start? How do you decide which ones are going to become a book?
As far as the blog stories, it's it just kind of depends on if there's an anthology that fits the theme. If there's no anthology, then it'll just stay on the blog until an anthology comes up, such as with my submission for the anthology, the fantasy anthology, Cracks in the Tapestry, which was the story is called Heart Song, and that was originally serialized on my blog.
Mm-hmm.
And when the submission call was, the open call was announced and the theme was announced, I was like, I have a story that fits the theme. Yay, mermaids, let's go. And so I just took it and I edited it up and stuff for the anthology and submitted it. So then that was one that started on my blog and ended up in the anthology and ended up published. So
nice. So how many are going to be in this series? Because we have coming up the Undersea Saga, which sounds really good. The Fugitive of the Crossway. Simon Langton.
Yes.
And then we have Fury of Outlast.
Yes.
Ooh, there'll be Raids. The Girl That Hits Her Mark. Sounds good.
It's kind of a Wild West steampunk version of Aladdin, actually.
Wow. And then The Queen of Overcliff.
Yes, which is going to be inspired by it's going to be my take on the story of Snow White with 100% more mermaids.
Wow. So how long did it take you to write this first one?
that first one, well, the fan fiction, because I just framed it like an episode of the show, so I could like jump around, skip around a lot, kind of a thing, wherever I wanted to and stuff. And I was kind of writing between, because the Once Upon a Time, it takes place in the real world and fantasy world. So skipping between those two, just kind of piecing that together. I think it took me like 3 months to write the fan fiction. And then when it came time where when a group I was in announced that they were going to do an anthology of fairy tale retellings, I was like, well, I have half of it written on the fantasy side of this, the fantasy world side of this, because I've already kind of retelling the story of the Little Mermaid. So let me see if I can make it an actual original story. So it took me probably an additional year or so, or within a year, I'd written like the first draft. And then the anthology didn't pan out, but I was able to actually get it published by the publisher who was going to produce the anthology. He offered to publish my just my little novella by itself.
That's great.
And so that I spent another year editing it up and polishing it up as an original standalone.
Is writing your full-time position?
I wish it was. It's kind of, I actually work full-time in an elementary school.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, as a paraeducator or teaching assistant, that's what we're called. And basically just supporting the teachers in the classroom and leading groups of students in small groups, and supervising lunch and recess and crossing garden kind of a thing. So I get to experience all different grade levels and stuff, and it's super fun. But yeah, when I'm not doing that, I'm kind of spending all the rest of my time writing.
So did you gear this towards the elementary school age or middle school?
I kind of aimed it towards the middle kind of a thing, the middle of everything. So it's probably like the third and second graders probably would not, it might have been a little bit too advanced a reading level for them, but like the fourth and fifth graders, like I would just bring a proof copy with me to work, and if they were interested and they wanted to read it, I could just let them read it for like a recess period and everything.
Oh, that's so good. You get feedback.
The fourth and fifth graders just loved it. Yeah, they're like, Miss Leslie,
when's the next chapter? That's awesome.
Yep. So,
that's a perfect group to work with too. But yeah, I was really surprised at how well you shifted away from the original story, kept some meaningful essence from it, and then just went on your way. It was really good. And I love the twist at the end. I'm really looking forward to meeting Simon.
Yes.
That was really twisted.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah? So 2 more or 3 more?
There's going to be 3 more. So it's going to be a 4-book series. 4 books in all.
Wow. When's the next one going to be ready?
I don't know. I'm about halfway through the first draft, and I already know that I'm probably going to be kind of taking that one apart and fixing it, because it's much, much longer than Princess of Undersea ended up, and so that will look kind of weird. So I want to make the books kind of more the same length. It's a little bit harder, right? Because so Princess of Undersea, I already had like the fan fiction and the idea of like what I wanted to do with the story before I started writing it, so it kind of helped it stay kind of more of a reasonable length. But Fugitive of Crossway, I'm using the story of Pinocchio, and I'm kind of piecing it together from scratch, and so it's ending up. My stories always end up way wordier at the first draft, and I have to like cut things down and make it more concise and make it more smaller kind of a thing. So
Well, even though it's fantasy, because you're in the educational field, do you find yourself doing more research? Like there were mentions of things like shark habits and, you know, other fish and things going on
Mm-hmm.
that required research. So is that something you're big
Yeah.
on?
Um, I'm not too well. So the thing about me is I'm more big on trivia than actual research. So if I treat my research just like, oh, I'm on a trivia hunt kind of a thing. I'm like, this is a piece of random trivia that I just know, or I can make something up to kind of fit what I'm telling in the story, and oh, it happens to be more or less correct kind of a thing. So but yeah, so just like just the different things that I had to think about and stuff, and just from experience and just things that I picked up. Yeah,
Wow.
so
Well, I can definitely
that's good.
see where the manners and how you treat others comes in, because I imagine that's a big thing in elementary school.
Yes.
Getting to know different people and trying to communicate effectively and not talk
Yeah,
over them. You know,
right.
it's such a cute group to work with, though. They must be
It
so
is.
much
It's
fun.
fantastic. I love it.
And have you done anything else, or is this what you've been doing the
So
most?
I've also been running my blog, The Upstream Writer, and I write original fiction for serials for that and stuff. And so then I've been working on a serial that I've been updating every Saturday. It's called The Clan of Outcasts. And so I've been writing that one and just kind of working on, because I'm kind of also working on the short stories that are going to go along with Fugitive of Crossway. So kind of like the Princess of Undersea has the Tales from Undersea. So then each book is going to have tales from, and then whatever location is central to the story, kind of a thing. And so the Tales from Crossway is kind of also what I'm working on. So I kind of have multiple projects going on at the same time.
I know. How do you keep track of everything? Plus, on top of that, your blog looks pretty active. So, how do you keep up an active blog if you're working full time on something else and writing, books that are over 200 pages?
I think it helps that I'm a little bit scatterbrained. And so I naturally can't focus hard on one thing for too long, or it just absolutely falls flat. So if I'm like spending a little bit of time on this project and then I switch over to this project, and then it kind of helps keep my mind a little bit flexible so that I can be like, I won't get too blocked on one particular project, but I can keep generating fresh ideas to kind of get around those problems, or I can put something on the back burner if I need to think about it for a while and have other things to focus on. And
Wow.
so, yeah.
Where did you go to school for writing?
I didn't. I've just been obsessed with books um from a very early age. And so it's just I read a whole lot growing up, and then I did major in English,
Mm-hmm.
and so that I could take just all of the English and literature courses that I could possibly get and stuff, because I just loved it so much, and I loved learning about literature and like the aspects of storytelling, and just that whole being able to read I believe is really important to the effectiveness of one's writing. And it's just kind of like I found that the more that I read, the more focused I could be on my writing, and the more fluid I could be, and the better stories I could get out of my writing when I was reading and stuff, and I could, as I was writing, and that was kind of my outlet, and then it had helped me be more focused in my reading. And so it's just kind of having both of those in balance, I think, is really, really important for a writer.
Definitely. Well, you have a great imagination, because I love the new twists to this story. I love the conflicts that are coming up, possibly in the second or third book that you alluded to in this book. I love how all the characters tie together. It's really, really good. It's really cute. I was like, oh, she's rewriting The Little Mermaid. And then I was like, ooh, she is rewriting The Little Mermaid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was really well done. So what are you working on next? Besides the ones you've already told us.
Well, besides that, that's pretty much, it's full steam ahead with the Undersea Saga, is just getting that series out. Like, the more that I'm adding to and thinking about in writing Fugitive of Crossway, like, ideas come, because I'm going to be using some characters from Fugitive of Crossway to then go and write Fury of Out West. So as I'm writing the one, I'm coming up with ideas for the next one, kind of a thing, and having to make notes about all the things and stuff. And so,
how do you keep track of everybody?
My phone. I use the Notes app on my phone religiously. I have like folders for everything, and I make sure I title things so that I know what's in it and stuff. And I basically just have to, like, make the folders, make the documents, make the notes, or I would just be a wreck or I would just forget everything.
Wow. And how did you choose the names? Because you choose some really unique names, some really different names that are in mainstream, but you haven't seen a lot.
Right. Like the fact that, like, so we have the name Elaine, but starting with a Y. And, like, I really like when, like, names have, like, twists like that, the twisted spellings, or, like, her mother's name is Asandra, which is kind of like Cassandra, but again, starting with a Y, kind of a thing. So just having that, taking a name that's kind of basic, and then just adding a syllable or two, or changing a letter, and it becomes a whole different name that's really cool sounding and a whole lot of fun. So
yeah, that is great. So how much time do you spend on the stories on your blog? Because you do have a lot to choose from. And how did you get into writing? I don't know if it's countering or I forgot the other word, but to do it off of the show Once Upon a Time.
So fanfiction. Fanfiction is where I started, because I wasn't sure how to come up with my own setting and world building and stuff. So it was just easier for me to start a story with a character that I had that I made up, but then I could put characters around this main character, around this original character that already existed, and I could talk about things and have things that happened that someone else had already come up with and already explained. And so I wrote fan fiction for several years, starting out and stuff, and until I got an idea for a story that I hadn't seen anywhere in any kind of a show or read in any book. And so then I was like, well, I really, really want to figure out, like, because it was like something that happened in the inciting moment of a story, where it's like, well, how did these characters get here? And, like, what is he going to do now? And stuff. And then through that, fan fiction really gave me the practice of developing a story and telling a story. And then from there, I was able to then make my own world, make my own setting, and really craft my own, put in my own characters into an original story because I had that practice. And I still do it from time to time because I still watch TV and I still read books and I still, come up with ideas. Well, what if this kind of a person was in this scene, and how would the characters react to this kind of a situation, kind of a thing.
Right.
So that's super fun.
Well, it was super fun to read. I can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Thanks. I'm super excited myself.
When is book 2 due out?
I don't have a date just yet. It might take. Well, I don't.
You left us in limbo.
Yes.
What do you mean you don't have a date? We want it yesterday.
I know. I've had. You're not the first person who's told me that I want more, and I'm like, I'm trying. So I'm about halfway. Like I said, about halfway through the first draft of Fugitive of Crossway, and then I don't know how long it's going to take me to piece it all together and actually make a concise story out of it, an actual story out of it, instead of just a bunch of rambling characters going places, kind of a thing. So I might be at a starting point for going back through the publishing and formatting process by the end of this year, or it might be early next year that I have the book ready. So we'll see.
All right.
I don't know.
We'll look forward to it. And thank you for sharing so much about yourself and how you created this novel. It's really nice to meet you. And if you guys want a great book to read, Princess of Undersea won't disappoint you. It will definitely surprise you. You'll love the twist. We'll see you soon.